Today we'll be going from this bumper vent to this open bumper. I've been running this vented bumper now for over a year, and then I had some smaller venting on it before that for about 2 years. The whole point of these vents is to alleviate pressure as it builds up in the rear wheel arches and causes lift and drag. Pretty much every single car I saw at Petit Le Mans back in October had fully vented rear fenders, so just a cut along this line here and down here where you can see the entire section of the rear tire. And while these vents are a lot bigger than the two smaller vents that I originally had, it was 2-section vents, I had some issues at Roebling Road about a month ago where I was getting air that was catching the bumper right here, and it was deforming it and pulling it out to such an extent that the metal right here on the other side bent and chipped off a bunch of paint and kind of mangled the fender a little bit. So while before I was toying with the idea of cutting the bumper, now I'm definitely going to cut the bumper now that I have proof that it is a small issue. I already finished the first step on the other side, which is cutting out the bumper before I put in some sort of filler to fill this gap here. It's very popular among people who track 350Zs to cut out a lot more of the bumper than I'm cutting out. What they'll do is basically just draw a line from here all the way across and cut that out. One limitation I'm working with here is this is a hard part of the body. If I could weld, I could cut this out and weld in another flat panel, but I don't know how to weld, so I'm not going to cut that out because it does seem to add some structure to the back of the car. What I'm going to do is fill in a panel right here and tuck this corner in just a little bit to kind of keep some sort of aesthetically pleasing body line back here. But from this angle here, you can see just how much of a tire is actually exposed. It's about 75% or more of the contact patch is actually exposed, especially once you tuck that in a little bit to line up with that tab up here. So this is really going to make a big difference in how much air actually is able to escape from the back of the car. So let's make the passenger side look like this side. The easiest way I found to get perfectly straight lines in exactly the shape I wanted was masking tape. It's easy to duplicate from side to side because I can just copy exactly what I did on the other side. It allows me to take a step back, look, make sure it follows the body line properly, and make changes to the tape before I cut instead of having to try and fix something later. So on the other line, I have one width of this masking tape at the front, but I have all 3 pieces of tape back here, and the end line is this section here. So what it's going to do is give me a nice triangular shape that this line is not parallel to the ground. I want a line that's parallel to the ground, and it's going to connect from here to here and be exactly the same on both sides. Alright, so this line here is vertical based off the floor, and we started with the full width of tape here, and this same width is maintained, and each time I bring this tape back, I put the outside lines together right here that intersect with this line, so it's now the full width back here while it's half the width up to the front, which gives me a parallel line for the back of the car. Now what I'll do is take a very sharp razor blade, bring it along this line here, down this line here. This under section down here, I'm going to cut along this body line here all the way around so we can tuck this in and cover the bottom so it's not catching any air. Alright, so we've got our piece cut out. Got a little bit of weight to it, so we'll probably save about 3 or 4 pounds from this. But the real advantage is going to come from an enormous reduction in drag and some reduced lift at the rear of the car. So what I'm going to make now is a rectangular shape that's going to connect from this corner right here, the little captured nut. It's going to continue up here, just along this body line. And then there'll be a flat piece that fills in this gap up here. The nice thing about this is the other side looks exactly the same. All the measurements should be the same. So what I'm going to start with is get a rough measurement of how big this rectangle with the little triangle bit on the end is going to be. I'll cut that out of some thin cardboard and just make sure that it's thin enough that once I have this shape, I can just flip it and apply it to the other side as a mirror image. I had to massage the metal up here a little bit with a 3-pound sledge just to give it a little bit more of a gradual contour. And then the attachment points up here on the body are going to pull this fender in just a little bit. But it should prevent any air from getting into the rear bumper cover while providing a nice smooth path out of the wheel well. So now that I've got this masked into place, with my Sharpie I'll make some notes on how to adjust this before transferring it to metal. Alright, so I've taken our original cardboard template. Got holes drilled for the driver's side and holes drilled for the passenger side. It's slightly different. And then I've had to do some editing to add a little bit of extra room here. Also going to add a tab here so I can wrap it around the inside of the wheel well just to make sure no air gets caught behind this and it gets ripped off. I'm not going to do anything on the top here. It's such a small area, I don't think it's going to be really any sort of an issue, especially compared to the drag that we had before. So I've got that transferred to our driver's side template. We've got our holes drilled already, and I've already got the fold here. Had to do a little hammering on it. It's not pretty, but it'll get the job done. So let's get this put on the car. Alright, so it looks pretty good. It's going to give a nice gentle flow out of the wheel well. I'm not going to have any issue with air getting caught on the bumper. So all I have to do now is give it a light sand with about 500 grit sandpaper and then give it a coat of white spray paint and it'll be done. Alright, here's our finished product all installed on the car. I think it turned out pretty good. It should be a dramatic increase in the amount of air that can escape from the rear wheel wells. I can't think of any way to quantify how much better it will be than the previous setup, but it should be a pretty significant reduction in drag and lift at the rear of the car. You can really see from this angle just how much was removed and how much more room for air to escape there is compared to that previous vent. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week.